Welcome to Sister Talk TV show. I'm your host, Deetra Kelsey. Yes, we have some hot topics. I mean, they're hotter than July. And it is July in New York City. And we are in the middle of a heat wave. So these topics are certainly hot. We'll be talking about the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade. The January 6th committee investigating the January 6th fiasco event, the bum rush the Capitol. I don't know. We'll be talking about also the mass shooting in the shootings in the USA. What's up with that? I mean, come on now. Brittany Grinder, she's still locked up in Russia. Will she be getting out soon? Also, R. Kelly, my sisters. Yes, my sisters. You all think that sentencing was a little bit too much, over 20 years. I want to know why. Also, we'll be talking about Monique. She gets the Netflix comedy special. Oh, wow. It's been a roller coaster ride with her. We have breaking news. President Joe Biden has gotten COVID. Fully vaccinated. With me to discuss all of this is Star Davis. Star Davis, she's the actress, owner of UCAN Media. Star, how you doing?
Good. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, next we have Rhonda Handsome, returning Sister Talk friend, actor, director, and comedian. Rhonda's in the house.
Delighted to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
You know, I can't wait to get your view on that Monique getting the Netflix contract. Maury Moss. How you doing, Maury?
Hey.
She's a community activist and I have to say, and a fabulous singer. Maury, how you doing? And thank you for coming back to Sister Talk TV show.
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Okay, great. Let's talk about Joe Biden. He has gotten COVID and fully vaccinated, boosters and all. I mean, should we be worried about that? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's go with you, Star.
I mean, he's fully vaccinated and he's getting the finest healthcare in the world. So I don't think there's any more that can be done to help him. He is older, though. He's almost 80 years old, and your immune system goes down as you get older. But I don't really think that worrying is going to help the situation. He's getting the finest care in the world. So not sure what more can be done than that.
So, Rhonda, do you think that the Vice President, Kamala, should be getting ready to take his place? Is that cruel to say? Because he's 79 years old?
She can get ready to take his place in her mind. That's the only place she's gonna be moving into the presidency. In her dream.
What you think, Maury?
I have to concur with my sisters here on Sister Talk. Obviously, it's a shock that you could be double vaxxed and boosted and still get COVID-19 and on the presidential level. So I think, we need to look at, and by the way, wasn't that all of it supposed to be about closing COVID? I thought COVID was supposed to be over within this administration. So I think that should be more of an impetus or more of a motivation to get COVID over and done with. Like,
where's the remedy?
Where's the real remedy?
Yeah, I think, seems like something is replacing COVID or partnering with it with this monkey virus that's going around. I don't even know the correct term for it. You know, it just
monkey pox.
Monkeypox. Yeah, it appears that COVID is here to stay, and we have to live with it. But you know, one thing about his administration is saying that he's being transparent with what's happening with him health-wise, and so is his wife also. Do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea? Do you think that the country has enough to worry about than the president getting sick? I mean, could they hide that aspect of it and carry on since they
I'm not
saying it's
sure
mild?
exactly what's going on because what I was reading on some social media was that he had said he had cancer. Did he make a mistake and think he had cancer and said he had, instead of saying he had COVID? Or does he just have COVID? Or does he have COVID and cancer? Because the first lady said she was going to continue on her regular schedule of events and taking meetings and traveling.
Well, for him to say that he had cancer instead of COVID, I think that's another health problem we got to worry about. What is he talking about?
Mental health.
His cognitive ability.
Oh, girl, I think you said it. I think you put it right on the nose, his cognitive ability. What bothers me about this whole thing about his having COVID is that Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, comes up and says it doesn't matter where he got it. This man has just been traveling through Saudi Arabia and some other places, and she's talking about it doesn't matter where he got it. I mean, contact tracers everywhere are just slumped in their chairs crying.
What you say? What did you say, Maury?
No, that was pretty funny. I mean, but I do think that we do need a transparent and honest administration because the more things get covered up, the more we find out anyway. So it's better to just
be transparent. Well, I gotta give it to him. He is holding on. Let's move on to the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade. I mean, it was a 5-4 decision. It was a landmark ruling. I don't think even before it was leaked, people thought that this would happen. Let's just talk about this. I'm just throwing things out on the floor. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think the obvious answer to that is it's not about the sanctity of life. I'm just going to cut right to the chase. It is about white birth in this country. There is a book to back that up. In 1987, an author, well, I don't know if he was an author before, but a gentleman by the name of Ben Wattenberg wrote a book called The Birth Dearth. And that was specifically saying that there was not enough white births in this country. And he came up with a couple of possibilities like, oh, okay, you can pay women to have babies like they do in Hungary. But the problem with that is that you'd have to pay everyone. You can increase immigration. But at the time when this book was written in 1987, supposedly mostly Blacks were immigrating into the country, which I can't think of any time Blacks were immigrating into this country just because they actually allowed that. But anywho, so the next best thing then was at this time, 60% of abortions were being had by white women. So they thought if they could stop that from happening, then the percentage of the white population would rise. And the greatest fear is that white people would lose their majority numbers in this country. So honestly, I don't think it has anything at all to do with the sanctity of life. I don't think it has anything at all to do with Christianity, even though that is what they hide behind. I think they are petrified that there are going to be fewer and fewer white people in this country.
How do you feel about that, Maura?
But my question is, if there's going to be fewer and fewer white people in the country, then why would there, I mean, it seems to me that the numbers of African American people who are having more abortions than white people. So I'm trying to understand that that concept.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know the book was written in 1987. So maybe at that time, and I know this gentleman, which I thought was so interesting, is that he was an advisor to Lyndon Johnson, who like put forth the Civil Rights Act. So I don't know exactly, what was going on with the Democratic Party at that time or the Johnson administration, but I do know for a fact that this book was written, and it was about specifically the dwindling numbers of white births in this country. And at that time, the statistics were that 60% of the abortions were being had by white women.
That's interesting. That's interesting. What's your take on it, Rhonda?
Well, as far as Roe versus Wade, I don't have a uterus in this fight. Well, I have a uterus, but it's on the shelf because I had it removed. This thing has nothing to do with Black people. It absolutely has nothing to do with Black people. I have not read the source that Starr so eloquently quoted, but I do know that Frances Cress Welsing said this exact same thing, that the white fear of erasure is a real thing. And she predicted this decades ago, that they would be losing their numbers, that they are definitely in fear of their numbers going down. And I just saw on social media where some white women actually are being sterilized, are getting sterilized because they don't want to have to deal with being stopped by a random law enforcement being asked, when was your last period? I mean, I think the whole thing is really ridiculous, especially, I feel sorry for all these young girls who are putting all their period information on apps, and now they're going to have all of this evidence against themselves when they have to go into court. They're going to have all of that stuff up in the cloud talking about, were you spotting, were you clotting, were you bleeding?
Yeah. Yeah, that is that's something to really think about. It's about control, it's about monitoring the hormones,
absolutely,
what have you. But do you all think, because of what Clarence Thomas said about contraception, the possibility of contraception and same-sex marriage, do you all think that may happen? Although,
what did he say about contraception?
I believe he said that
that should be the next thing looked at.
They will look at that, and also same-sex marriage. By banning abortion, is opening the door for regulating just how you live.
I have to tell you, I do admire the Republican tenacity, the Republican ability to stick together and stay on code. These people have been fighting for this for decades, ever since the rulings came in, and they continue to push. They pushed and they pushed, and they are getting everything that they want. They play a long game. They play a long game, and the Democrats just shuffle along and act all surprised when they have been told exactly what their their opponents had planned all along. I mean, all of these things have been in the target, have been in the crosshairs, and once they got the courts all stacked up with those liars, with all of those liars that they put in, saying, "Oh, this is settled. Oh, this isn't going to come up."
Yeah,
they're just doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
So, what do you have to say, Maury? You said something about you don't think it's a white person's problem because there are more Black people that are having it?
Statistically, it seems that there are more Black people that are having abortions than white people. Now, if that's incorrect, I'm sure there are plenty of sources that will disprove that, and maybe that's true. But I do think that it can't be this extreme. I think that there's a middle ground as far as, we protecting and advocating for the sanctity of life, but not being intrusive to the point where you can tell someone when and where to create one. Like Tupac said, like we have, like you cannot tell a woman when and where to create one. It's like, you know, that's just way intrusive. There has to be some respect for women. There has to be respect for mothers, and understanding that, you know, you can't dictate when a woman is supposed to procreate. They're just that's God's work, and to say some, you know, to demand to know everything about what's going on in someone's uterus is just very intrusive. And as Kamala Harris said, I mean, are there any laws that dictate the male body? You know, so I think that there has to be a middle ground here. We can still respect life. We can respect a woman's rights by education and support, but not to be intrusive to their detriment. And that I don't think is okay at all.
Well, you made a point there by saying that there are more Black women, more Black females, women that are having abortions according to the statistics than white women. But when I was preparing for this topic, I couldn't find any up-to-date, reliable statistics. So it's telling me that
I don't believe that we are having them more. And in fact, white women have always been able to have abortions. When I was in high school, I was reading about women traveling to London and Puerto Rico and flying here and there to get their abortions. And even now, in this day now, rich people, white people who want to get those kinds of procedures done will be able to do it. I don't believe that it is that more Black women are having it done. I think that is a propaganda talking point to make us think that's going on because they are afraid of our numbers rising.
I agree with you, Rhonda. Actually, I think they wish that would be the case.
There you go.
But I remember when I was a junior in high school, I remember a woman said to me, a classmate had said to me, she was also a junior, that she had had an abortion. And actually, let me correct that. I was a freshman and I didn't even know what an abortion was. And here was a 16-year-old girl, a white woman, blonde hair, blue-eyed. I went to high school in the Pacific Northwest. And she was telling me at that time that she had had an abortion. So the whole idea of Black people having more abortions, I agree with you, Rhonda. I don't think that's the case at all, because if it was, I don't think they'd make such a big deal about trying so hard to prevent women from getting one.
Besides the fact that we suffer the most from mortality, giving birth, the children dying and the mothers dying in the birthing process.
Okay, all right. So let's I want the viewers to know who you are and what's coming up, what you all are doing. Let's start with you, Rhonda.
Well, I am just so excited because I just directed a musical piece for the Berklee College of Music here in New York City. It was called Stevie and the Infant Scroll. And the writers were wonderful, the actors were wonderful, and I really loved having the opportunity to direct a musical. I love doing Politipod podcast. We have new episodes all the time on SoundCloud that is fun with government and politics. I love contributing to that. And my latest sketch is called Compromise, where that is a takeoff on that real situation of two law enforcement officers arguing over who's going to have the turf of a traffic stop and giving out tickets.
Mm.
I love doing John Fugelsang show on Sirius XM radio. The hashtag is Handsome Mondays. I'm with John Fugelsang on Sirius XM every Monday night around 10:15, and it's very exciting. We do topical
politics and all that. Yeah.
topical,
Okay.
information. And then I also love singing with Grooving on a Sunday, the longest running cabaret variety show in New York City. So
you're doing a lot of stuff. Maury, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm working on advocating for something called Letter to Legislation. It is about, women's rights go beyond our bodies, and it also talks about domestic violence. So we're dealing with domestic violence, children being separated from their parents, injustice in the courtrooms, ACS, everything, a 24-hour justice center. So it's called Letter to Legislation, and it's something that really pressing upon our legislators to put and enact into law. So to protect women's rights. And we've had, Asia Johnson, a young lady was just lost her life.
Wow.
There's been so many things that happened over the pandemic. So this is about protecting women's lives, protecting their rights, and giving them the opportunity to succeed and to continue to do well in their lives and live up to their full potential.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Star Davis, what's happening with you?
Oh my. Okay. It's not going to take quite that long. I hate to say it. So UCAN Media is working on another issue of UCAN Magazine, which we've been doing for the past 9 years. That's kind of my passion project. So we're working on an issue of that. And we're also working on a documentary called She Gave Me My Name. And it's kind of a personal story, and in connection with VPAD Media and Theo Imagery, we're in development to do this documentary.
Oh wow, great. I can't wait to see it. I just want to let you all know what I'm doing. Whose Side Are You On? The play I did before COVID. It was a musical that I produced and directed. I'm looking forward to doing it again in the fall of 2022. And I'm just talking to politicians and church people and trying to get it done. And I would say I'm cautiously optimistic it will get done, if not 22, sometime early 2023. And we have a great musical composer, Steve Wallace. Very good, has been in the business for a while. And I'm just looking forward to working with him again. So, hey, let's go to what everybody's talking about. Well, that's been dominating the news every Thursday, is the January 6th committee. Now, I've been looking at this off and on, seeing the passion and of the fellow Republicans that are saying all these things about Trump, how he could have stopped it, how he instigated it, how he did not listen. And I'm wondering to myself, what's the point? What's the point of this committee? Because I feel, like Monique would do in Precious, I feel in my heart that he ain't going to jail. There will be no consequences of his actions. Maybe the people around him. And I say that because the people that stormed the Capitol, their sentencing was not all that. And they probably later on will get probably on probation. So tell me I'm wrong. Tell me.
I want you to be wrong. I want you to be wrong. If nothing else, I'm actually, so I put it on mute. I'm no longer watching them, but there's actually a hearing on right now.
Yes.
About this particular hearing is about what Trump was doing, his activity while all of this was taking place, and his inner circle, begging him to intervene, to do something, to try and stop this madness that was going on. I'm praying that you were wrong, that something, I would love for the man to be indicted and brought up on criminal charges. That might be a far stretch. I saw the look that you gave me, Rhonda, that you don't think that's gonna happen. But I would love that. But if nothing else, I appreciate the fact that this is now a part of history. It is documented. People have gotten up there, taken an oath to tell the truth, and have testified to his absolutely ridiculous behavior. And those who are close to him, who really thought they could just seize power like that and prevent the peaceful transfer of power. So if nothing else, at least it's documented and we can all see the stuff that went on.
You so beautiful and so intelligent and so eloquent, but I just gotta say, slavery was also documented. Slavery was documented, and now these people are trying to talk about it was involuntary relocation.
Okay, you know what? Don't get me started on that.
So,
okay,
I'm not gonna
don't get me started on that. Please.
I'm not gonna let this political theater, which has been ongoing, get me all excited, because I remember how they tried to work my nerves with the Mueller report. And the next thing you know, the Mueller report comes out and says, well, we can't convict anybody for anything.
That was a huge
I'm not falling for the okie doke. I'm sorry.
How about you, Maury? What you say, Maury?
It should have never happened in the first place. I mean, really.
You're talking about the attack on.
Yes, that should not have happened. It was messy. It was.
Oh, you talking
deadly?
Oh, so what are you saying, that the Capitol Police should have done more, or they should have gotten back up?
I just think that it should not have been incited in the first place.
So you think it was strong?
If you wanted to contest the election, there are other ways to do it than that. And I just don't think that should have been one of the ways that shouldn't have happened.
Well, Obama said that, Trump, before Trump was elected, Trump did not have actually the mental capacity to be president. He can't do that. He was like pleading to us or telling us that this is not the job for this man. And
he said specifically he was uniquely unqualified.
Okay.
Is how he put it.
But you got to understand, he may have been uniquely unqualified to be president, but he is absolutely bound and determined and qualified to be an authoritarian dictator. And that is what he was doing on January 6th, fomenting the foundation for his authoritarian leadership. He told those people to go march up there, and he said, I was going to march with you. It was only some of the people keeping him from doing it was why he wasn't there. And he did, and he watched with relish as they destroyed property, injured law enforcement, breached the Capitol. And it had to be insisted that he say something after he relished over people destroying America right in front of our eyes by his direction.
He wanted to be there. He tried his best to be there, and it was only because his Secret Service detail was actually doing their jobs and just insisted that he was not going to be a part of that mob.
Don't even tell me about no Secret Service, Star. You know those people can't find January 5 and 6 text messages?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because they're all about protecting him. So they were doing their job that day to protect him, right? Even though he knew they were armed, and he said, it's okay that they're armed because they're not here to hurt me.
Yeah.
Right? That was sworn testimony.
It's amazing. What's amazing about this whole thing is that I was surprised that the Capitol Police really did not shoot people. I mean, they shot one person, and it's sad that they had to go there, but I just thought they would have fought more.
Deidre,
they were outnumbered.
Instructed not to have more people there to protect that situation. And if in any other situation, any other group, especially a Black group, had a permit to be there in Washington,
Come on.
there would have been many police, national
Black Lives Matter
there.
Come on, Rhonda. Now, you know, for the Black Lives Matter protests, they had the National Guard all over the place. And what was the statistics on that? It was 93% peaceful, but they had the National Guard out there in full force, prepared for something to happen because it was Black Lives Matter protests, right? So
yes.
Somebody,
and the people who were causing the problem in the Black Lives Matter protests were white folks going around spray painting and trying to make believe they were Antifa. No.
Come on now. Come on. And by the way, let's just get this straight. That whole Antifa thing, the meaning of Antifa is anti-fascist. Okay. So actually there is nothing wrong with that name, anti-fascist.
Our next topic is these mass shootings. We have the Highland, Chicago, well-to-do area. We had Uvalde, Texas. No words that I can express or say with that tragedy. And also another, all of them are tragedies, matter of fact. But also Buffalo, New York, upstate New York. You know, do you all think that a mandate on guns or banning guns or whatever they want to do with guns will stop the mass shootings? I'm trying to wonder because I think they had one gunman, he made something himself. You know, I'm thinking about the killing in Japan. Sorry, I just went. But yeah, do you think that will stop the mass shootings?
No.
Regulating guns?
No, because we're at war. We are at war. We are in bio warfare, but we are also in a civil war. And part of it is the mass shootings. I mean, Dietrich, there are people all over this country who have entire rooms devoted to arms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and there are some who are bold enough to write racial and ethnic slurs on their weapons when they go out to commit their well-documented crimes. These are people whose parents have bought them the guns, who have told their compadres on Twitch and on other kinds of social media platforms exactly what they're going to do. We are at war, and even if they so-called do some kind of soft approach to controlling guns, I don't think it's going to change for the people who have already been arming themselves for decades.
Okay, this is a general question. Who are we at war with? I want to clarify that. Is the white extremists at war with people of color?
I don't use that term, people of color.
But
I
don't like that term either, but I'm generalizing. Hispanics, Latinx,
no, I think
Black people.
They're using Hispanics to help buffer and erase the demands of foundational Black Americans. We are in ideological warfare right now. I mean, Biden already said to the people from NAACP and Urban League that we're going to have to work with Latinos. It's an ideological war that's being waged against us, in addition to a biological warfare. Ideological and biological. I mean, it is constant.
All right, Maury, what do you think? Do you think that regulating guns will stop these mass shootings?
Something needs to stop it because it's out of control. And I mean, every time we go through another mass shooting, we're saying the same thing. It's like we need more gun laws, we need more restraints here, we need more restraints there. It has to do with individuals who are picking up these guns and just deciding to do some of the most atrocious things. And somehow we have got to be proactive and preventative about this. I'm not sure if it has to do with anything about gun laws per se, or even gun buybacks. But we've got to figure it out, and we've got to figure it out fast. What happened in Uvalde, what happened at Sandy Hook, what's happening, what has happened with anything with the schools specifically. I mean, because, everyone who sends their children to school, they don't expect their children to have to, to lose their lives like that. But even that footage was disturbing to see how it was being handled.
You're absolutely right. It was disturbing. In Uvalde, they said there were almost 400 law enforcement people standing around there that day. Do you know how many donuts that is, Deetra?
I mean, it's not funny, but the sad thing is,
that was funny. Star, don't say that's not funny. That was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. Okay. The sad thing is, kids died. Talk about law enforcement, right? So a lot of these right wingers, Blue Lives Matter, law enforcement, the whole thing. Well, here we had proof right there on video, viral for everybody to see, that law enforcement is not really all that.
It's right. What you're saying is true, Star. They had just done an active shooter training 2 weeks before in Uvalde. So don't tell me nothing about training, police reform. Those people had just done a run through 2 weeks before. Did they tell them to stand around during the run through?
Right. That was a part of their training, telling them to stand around. Yeah. My whole problem is that, and you could say I'm simplifying it, I'm oversimplifying it. I'm sorry, I live in a very noisy neighborhood. Pardon the guys outside the window playing basketball. I really believe most of the policies in this country come down to two things: race and money. And if you are anti-racism, they will vilify you until cows jump over the moon. If you try to mess with those who are in power and mess with their money, again, they will vilify you and until the cow jumps over the moon. Okay, so this whole thing about don't take away my gun rights, don't take away my gun rights. And I just want to say, I'm going to segue a tiny bit before I'm sticking to the point. This whole thing about believing in life and the sanctity of life and all that, somehow that seems to fall by the wayside when it comes to guns, right? And I actually agree with some Republican ideas. I think it would be great if everybody were happily married. I think it would be great if kids grew up in a 2-parent home and, they were spiritual and they, just had all this good stuff happening with them. I think that would be great. But what I cannot take from the Republican Party and why I totally don't respect them is that they are the party of hypocrites. Everything that they talk about, the hypocrisy is just, that's what I can't take. Everything that they talk about, everything that they preach, everything that they swear they live by, their mouths say one thing and their actions
do something else.
A totally different thing.
Yeah.
And that is why, even though some of the ideals of the Republican Party I actually agree with, but I can't respect them and I can't follow them because of the hypocrisy.
You know what's so crazy about this whole
amassing these guns for decades. They have been preparing for this for decades, and they're going to carry it out.
Yeah, what's so weird about this whole thing is that the Black community has been experiencing mass shootings for a while. We have been experiencing people coming into the school system, shooting up places. That's why they had the security at the door, check your bags and all that. Now that it's spilled into some other people's neighborhood, it is a problem. There's a problem with the drugs. We dealt with that when it became an epidemic in their neighborhood. It's a problem.
No, when it goes to white folks, it's a disease. But when they are funneling the drugs into our communities, it's a crime. We got to be incarcerated. And all of these people, some of these people are even getting reparations because they are on meth and or Oxycontin and stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of weird. That's kind of that's kind of crazy for me when I look at that. You know. So you all don't think that regulating the guns will stop these mass shootings? Because
no, I do. I am absolutely for gun reform. And I think the harder you make it for somebody to get access to it, that would absolutely stop. First of all, I don't understand. There's nothing anybody could say that would convince me that an 18-year-old or even a 21-year-old, or how about any person, period, outside of a war should have an AR-15. Why an individual needs to buy a gun of that caliber?
But from Columbine to today, I mean, we've always been scratching our heads on how are these teenagers getting these war weapons. I mean, these are.
We know how they're getting them. Their parents are enabling them.
Yes, yeah. And they're supposed to be locked away. But look, we can spend a lot of time on this, and it's really deep. It's part of the American system. But I really want to get to Brittany Grinder. There's not really much of a fuss. We have little people that are making some fuss about her that to come home. Brittany Grinder, for those who don't know, she's a basketball star, WNBA star. She was over in Russia, I guess playing basketball, trying to earn some extra money. That's another topic there. But she's been there for over 5 months. And she finally said that she did have marijuana, but it was medicinal marijuana.
Cannabis oil.
Cannabis oil.
It was flour. It was oil.
You think she's coming home? I don't know.
Home. They need to stop this. This is ridiculous. And it's retribution for something else. It has nothing really, I don't think, to do with her. It's like they're just using it. And it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. I mean, I don't know how a country does something like this and thinks that it's, like what is it's bullying, basically. Right. It's like it's beyond any kind of humanity.
Well, let me ask you all this.
Every kind of human rights law that you can think of.
Well, let me ask you all this. They're saying that if she was LeBron James, she would have been home instantly. Do you all believe that? I don't know. Because we have sanctions.
LeBron generates a lot more money, right, than Brittany does, so that may be the case. But then again, LeBron is a black man, so
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know, right?
But we have to realize that we live, again, please pardon the people outside, we live in a racist and misogynist society. So maybe LeBron might have gotten more play because as a man, he makes a lot more money.
He could have bought his way out of it.
NBA, but he's a black man, so they may have hung him out to dry like they're doing with Brittany.
I don't even want to do the equivalency because she has been traveling for her work for years, and she knows whenever you leave America, you are told what you can and cannot do in the country you are going to. You are given a pamphlet and you are told, do not do this, do not do that. and you are told what the penalty is for doing those things. I mean, I don't know if you all remember Otto Warmbier went over there to Korea acting a damn fool. He was on a tour where the mission of the tour was to flaunt the regulations of the country he was in, and he got his punishment
for ripping down a poster. Okay,
that's
and
right.
They sent that boy back half dead.
Yes, that absolutely.
He was dead. He did die, didn't he?
He died.
But when he came back, he was alive.
The plane and then dropped dead. He walked off the plane and dropped dead. But Brittany knows what was going on. Brittany knows what the penalty is. What I think is a shame is that the LGBTQIAMPMNOP are not out here working for her to get back. They're not pushing for her to come. They're not out protesting her to be brought back. And what it is, in my mind, is it's a diplomatic move. There are people we have here that the Russians want. So they're probably going to, try to do some kind of deal, some kind of deal of trade.
Do you think the United States is going to do that deal?
Yes.
With Britain?
I don't know.
Because they have prisoners over there already.
They had a white guy over there that the
person they're asking to trade for her was like this major arms dealer. I just happened to read something briefly about it. I don't know if they called him like the merchant of death or something like that. It's like crazy. He was like this major arms dealer. And technically, that is not even comparable to a woman who lived in Russia, who was playing in Russia, who had a vape pen. So now Russia is trying to play this whole game, as somebody just said, trying to trade her for a major arms dealer.
And that's what I'm talking about. I don't know. Yeah, because of time, let's get to R. Kelly. R. Kelly verdict. Now, I just want to know your take on that. R. Kelly was sentenced over 20 years, I believe up to 30 years for messing with little girls, underage girls. So what do you all think about the sentences? When I talk to people, I am astonished, even on the social media. And I'm not scared to say this about R. Kelly. I think he was an effed up individual, and he deserved that. But they're saying that the sentencing was too much. They need to get on the parents. Let's go.
Again, we live in a misogynist society. So, I feel bad because he was sexually abused as a child by family members. And I believe that damaged him. But, what he did, and it's so funny that you bring this up as a topic, because I just happened to watch that series last week, Surviving R. Kelly, and the stuff that he did was atrocious. And I mean, he had young girls. When we say young girls, we're talking like 18, 19-year-old girls not seeing their family for years, being really controlling about what they could do, just all kinds of stuff. He needs to be punished for that. He needs to be punished.
Yeah, but what about 20 years? Maury, what do you think? 20 years?
Yeah.
I think that
Say what?
We've got to get serious about protecting, respecting, honoring women, period. Like Star said, I mean, it's obvious that we have a very misogynistic culture. It has to change. And that's the only way we're going to get justice for women. I'm looking at 86% of women in Rikers Island prison are victims of sexual assault. For reporting assault, you go to prison. That what kind of society are we? What are we saying to our women? We don't value you, that we don't respect you. And if a man wants to do whatever he wants to you, he can. That's just wrong. That's not the kind of message we need to be sending to our women, our mothers, our daughters, our sisters. That's not the message that we need to be sending. So we have to change that dynamic by doing something about these kind of situations. Yeah. And I'm sorry that he's an amazingly talented and gifted person. And it's a shame that, this is a part of his, narrative.
Personality.
Yeah, but again, like this has to be, the message has got to be to our young men. Like I went to we went to Hampton University,
Yes, we
right?
did.
At Hampton, they told us, like, if a man can't get out of his car to come over and talk to you, you keep on stepping. Like that's this is how when men they taught our Hampton men open doors for the women. You don't just let a woman just walk. So I mean, I'm telling you, when I graduated from Hampton, I was walking in the doors because like I was so used to
Yeah, the guys open the doors for you.
my sister, what can I do to help you, study groups and so forth, and being treated with respect. We have got to get back to a kind of culture that is about respecting women, period.
Yeah,
we have to uplift
right.
women, we have to respect women.
Right.
I want to, even Tupac understood, had songs about it. So come on.
Yeah.
Respect our women.
Okay, Monique. Monique got her Netflix special. She's been on a roller coaster, Rhonda. That was a roller coaster ride with her. Ever since on the Apollo, telling people to suck her, you know what, if she had one. I mean, but she got it, What do you think? I'll just leave that to you. What do you think, Rhonda?
I am delighted for Monique. I am absolutely thrilled for her. Monique may have an approach and a style that does not sit well with a lot of people, but she was standing in her truth. I always get the sense that she is standing in her truth, regardless to how unpolitically correct she may come across. And she stood up for herself, for Black women, for Black women comics. And I'm very happy that she got things settled with Netflix. She's very funny. She's a great actress. She is she has her place in comedy, in American comedy and in women in comedy, and I'm delighted for her, and I look forward to her special.
Yeah, the DL situation, I thought that was kind of harsh for me, but
What?
I was how she came after DL.
What do you mean she came after DL?
Well, she did when they were at the same location in Detroit. Somebody something was
That
going
was a
on with the contract.
that was a contractual thing, and
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You may not like the way she does it, but it's like, are you gonna fight with a knife? You gonna fight with a gun? You gonna fight with
well, you got to be fighting the right person too.
well,
Okay, you have to be fighting the right person. You got to fight the promoters or the people who made up the contract.
This is my point, Deetra. Someone was at fault.
Right.
She did not say the correct person. That may be a flaw, but the thing about it was there was an issue. She had certain information where she was operating under the belief that she was the headliner, and she stood up for herself. And I'm not going to take that away from her.
Yeah, I'm not going to take that away from her either. And I'm not here to put her down or what have you. The way she handled it, I would not have done that. But that's her style. That's how she is, and so forth. Her sister had to intervene and say, look, you need to check yourself and your family out. And that's what she did. And she half-ass apologized to DL. And I'm not a big fan of DL or Norman Monique. I enjoy their shows and all that, but I wouldn't go run out to see them and so forth. But yeah, it scared me. It scared me as a producer and as a writer to present something to probably either one of them. But what's your take? I'm sorry, but go ahead. What's your take, real quickly, so we can.
No, I was just gonna say, if you look at Lenny Bruce, they were saying that she shouldn't have put all of that stuff in her act. But you listen to Lenny Bruce, your laughs are few and far between because he is bringing up issues. He's talking about specific things that have contradictions and that are challenging to the system. And I love that she stood in her truth. I am not recommending that people follow her style, but she stood in her truth, and I'm happy for her that it worked out, that she got a settlement with Netflix. And I wanted to go on tour with you, Monique. So here I am, baby.
Yeah, I'm going to support her in the Netflix. Any take, Sarah Davis?
Close the show.
No, I was listening to
You
what
gotta,
Rhonda
you gotta
said.
close.
I'm sorry, my noisy background again. I agree with Rhonda. If Monique hadn't taken a stand for herself, they may have been taking advantage of more Black women comics. So, she at least put them on notice that this is not something you can do. I don't know enough about the situation to comment in depth, but I do admire her for sticking up for herself. And I think she paved the way for future Black comics behind her. She's probably made it a lot easier for them.
Okay. We gotta close the show. We have to close the show. I want to thank you all for coming on Sistah Talk TV show virtually. I do want to just make a comment of Jack Knight. He's a comedian, fellow comedian. I would think of Rhonda. They said that he was. They found him in his apartment, dead, and they say it was suicide. That's what they say. So I'm going to leave it like that, suicide. It's a shame that so much talent such as he was funny. I just saw him one time on streaming. I said, this guy's funny. And I don't think some of these young comics, they don't do nothing for me. But he was an intelligent, funny guy. And it's too bad that he had to end his life. I don't know what demons he was fighting. But, he did what he had to do in his short time of 28 years old, and he did it well. Hey, we gotta close the show. Like I said again, thank you all for watching Sistah Talk TV show, and thank you all for coming to Sistah Talk TV show to talk about hot topics. I am Deetra Kelsey, and as always, I am wishing you peace, love, and remember to stay in the light.
Something on your mind anytime. I'm here to listen. Sistah Talk. When you need someone who understands, I know what you're missing. Sistah Talk. No matter what you're going through, don't worry, I ain't going nowhere. Sistah